defining what consciousness is. Consciousness, and other sources that I've already researched, defines it as, or to be aware. Consciousness is a term that refers to the relationship between the mind and the world with which it interacts. It has been defined as subjectivity, awareness, the ability to experience or to feel, wakefulness, having a sense of selfhood, and the executive control system of the mind. Despite the difficulty in definition, many philosophers believe that there is a broadly shared underlying intuition about what consciousness is. Anything that we are aware of at a given moment forms part of our consciousness, making conscious experience at once the most familiar and most mysterious aspect of our lives. Philosophers since the time of Descartes, Rene Descartes, and Locke, whether non-human consciousness exists, aside from Wikipedia, as in, does a rock have consciousness? Does my hand have consciousness? Does the planet Earth have a consciousness? Does a tree have consciousness? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Does the universe as a whole have consciousness? I personally am of the belief that the universe is the consciousness, as if you go back to, is a term that refers to the relationship between which the mind and the world with which it interacts. Now, for example, the moon and the earth interact and they have a relationship with each other. We know the moon affects the tides of the planet. We know that the sun has a gravitational pull which keeps the earth in orbit. We know that the Milky Way galaxy spins in a spiral shape, which means that there's obviously a gravitational pull that pulls it all together. It has the same shape as a hurricane, as a tornado, as a toilet flushing. Anyways, getting back to, at one time consciousness was viewed with skepticism by many scientists, but in recent years it has become a significant topic of research in psychology and neuroscience. The primary focus conscious human subjects for a verbal report of their experience. Tell me if you notice anything if I do this, as an example. Issues of interest include phenomena such as subliminal perception, blind sight, denial of impairment, and altered states of consciousness produced by psychoactive drugs or spiritual or meditative techniques. Let's go into they call it drugs, but it's there's a gland in the brain called the pineal gland, and that is supposedly what is responsible excreting a substance known as DMT, also known as, I was close, it's a natural occurring psychedelic compound of the tryptamine family. DMT is found in several plants, also in trace amounts in humans and other mammals, where it is originally derived from the essential amino acid determined. Structurally, DMT is analogous with the neurotransmitter serotonin and other psychedelic tryptamines such as psilocybin or psilocin, or the active metabolite in psilocybin. Have anyone heard of psilocybin mushrooms or Cubensi mushrooms? Well, psilocybin is the natural ingredient that makes your brain trip. In some cultures, DMT is ingested as a psychedelic drug. When DMT is inhaled or consumed, depending on the dose, the subjective effects can range from short-lived, milder psychedelic states to powerful, immersive experience, which include a total loss of connection to conventional reality, which may also be so extreme it becomes ineffable. DMT is also the primary psychoactive in ayahuasca, an Amazonian Amerindian brew employed for divinatory and healing purposes. Anyways, to make a long story short, DMT is a naturally occurring chemical that often gets released into the body and the brain in large doses, supposedly at the time of death or right before you die, which is why you see the bright light. There's other things that go along with it. DMT is also known as the spirit molecule. Just go ahead and Google for yourself if you're interested, spirit molecule, and you'll see all sorts of cool, trippy things come up. But there's also a lot of very interesting information out there as to what people believe it is. So even when you're sleeping, this chemical supposedly comes out. The government won't let you study it. Nothing to see here. is what they're going to want you to think. Yet, for true consciousness, for us humans to wake up, and we need to maybe use something like DMT. Every creature on this planet has its own way of getting inebriated, be it spinning in circles, banging its head on a rock, consuming substances. We know that the animals in Africa, all gather and eat the fruit, the fermented fruits. So to consume drugs is really only considered taboo because that's the way society puts it. Yet it may be a very natural thing. Yet you look at the tribes in South America, the ones that are actually connected to the planet and they don't really harm or abuse or live out of sync with nature. Maybe there's something more to it. All in all, long and short, DMT could be the most amazing chemical that we humans have discovered, for it occurs naturally in our brain, and we've learned how to consume it in excessive doses when we are awake or conscious or aware of our surroundings. And if you consume it, maybe you will wake up. I've done it and I've had very interesting effects. It's very natural with the way it comes on. If any of you have smoked weed or anything like that, you'll know how you can feel it come on, but it obviously has cannabinoid receptors which allow us to get high. I think I've said enough now.